Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular Planning Commission meeting for August 16th, 6 p.m. And we are going to start with a Pledge of Allegiance. And I will lead that, if everyone could stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if we could get a roll call, please. It's going to be interesting.
All right, Commissioner Fresco.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Lambert.
Here.
Commissioner Landris.
Here.
Vice Chair Raskin.
Here.
Commissioner Tolkien.
Here.
Chair Reese.
Present. Okay, first thing on our agenda is the oath of office. I think we have one speaker slip on that. If not, yeah, one speaker slip. Jerry Rubin.
Well, thank you very, very much. Jerry Rubin, Santa Monica, Chair Reese, Honorable Commissioner, City staff, fellow Santa Monicans. I just want to say I've known Commissioner Fresco and you, Chair Reese, for many, many, many years, and I can't think of too many people who have been more dedicated to the city of Santa Monica and deserve to be reinstated as both of you were. And I'm just really proud of the work you're doing. Now, as far as Josh Hamilton, today was the day I was first honored to meet him. So I didn't know much about him, but from talking with him ever so briefly, it seems to me that all the good things I've heard about you are true. And I wish you the huge success in this great city of Santa Monica. And onward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. So we can move on with the oath of office for, I guess, Josh Hamilton. Are we going to do this one by one or all together? Okay. Can we get a director's report while you guys are doing that? Would that make sense?
Good evening, Commission. Nice to see everyone. Coming up at your next meeting, which will be on September 20th, there's a alcohol license, 2525 Michigan. It's for a comedy club. It's currently existing there. They want to add alcohol. Another alcohol license at 3000 Main, or 3009 Main, and that's for an existing restaurant that's expanding. And then that night you will take up the continued item of 1665 Appian Way that was scheduled for tonight, but has now been moved to September 20th. And then we'll get a presentation from our colleagues in mobility on the pedestrian action plan and the bike action plan. City Council on July 25th, the council approved interim zoning ordinance to promote economic activity in the downtown, specifically on the Promenade and Santa Monica Place and the east side of 2nd Street and the west side of 4th Street. So this is really a continuation of some of the things that were done over the last few years, making it easier for certain uses to open in the downtown core, nightlife, clubs, bars, comedy clubs, all of those types of things that previously required a conditional use permit, which would add a lot of uncertainty to the process. Those are now allowed by right. So it hopefully will attract more nighttime activities to the downtown. We've heard from different sources that, the downtown's great, but not much happening after, 8 or 9 o'clock at night. So this is an attempt to kind of enliven things a bit. And then also they approved an ordinance incentivizing certain housing projects. So this is something the commission reviewed and made recommendations on related to the housing element adoption. I'm sorry, really more related to the builder's remedy projects. So this is something the commission weighed in on. And then coming up at council on August 27th, we are presenting a ordinance establishing property maintenance and vacant property standards. I mean, we have some existing now, but we really needed to beef it up so that when there are vacant properties, we have more tools to enforce certain rules. We have I think you've met Dan Mick, who's our code enforcement manager. And he came from West Hollywood, where they have a pretty robust property maintenance program. So he's taken a lot of things he learned there and incorporated it into this ordinance that we'll be presenting to council. So that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Two questions. One, is the ordinance before the city council on July 25th, that's basically the settlement agreement on the builder's remedy.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that applicable to other projects or just those projects? So then basically I was questioning about the off-site inclusionary. Is that just for those projects?
I'll let Heidi answer that one.
So that is just for the terms of the settlement agreement. If the council or the commission wanted to take up offsite, that would need to be through a separate ordinance.
I gotcha. And then the other question on August 22nd, it brings up the issue of something we saw in 1665 Appian a couple of weeks ago, that basically the crawl space was not secured. Do we have the authority now to make them do that?
I think we can. What we'll be presenting to the council will have sort of more teeth in terms of fencing a property and just making it more secure. So I think we can do something now, but this new ordinance will give us more tools to enforce those kind of things.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So first, thanks for scheduling the bike action plan update and the pet action plan. I appreciate it. I believe, am I correct to Commissioner Lambert's question about the builder's remedy ordinance? I believe that we had requested that some questions about offsite feasibility be added to the feasibility study at the time that we discussed it. I hope, am I correct that we had asked for that? And maybe at some point we could get an update on whether or not that was moving forward as part of the housing feasibility study. On the ordinance establishing property maintenance and vacant property standards, will that apply as well to sites under construction?
Yes.
Okay, so maintaining certain standards for construction.
Different applicability, different tools, but yes, it also includes properties under construction.
Okay, because I had exchanged with staff noticing some construction sites that had appeared to be dormant, and we're starting to get tagged and things like that. And then my last question, I think, is for Heidi. Since I was not present on July 19th and we have a new commissioner, do you have instructions for us for what we need to do to be able to participate on September 20th in the Appian Way hearing?
Right. So happy to discuss this with you offline, but the general rule is if any commissioner is not present during a hearing and wants to participate in the continued hearing, they are required to have reviewed the entire record of the proceedings until they, up until that point, and then on the record make very clear that they have reviewed all of the proceedings up to that point.
So it's just watching the agenda item on YouTube
And reading all of
and
the-
reading all the
all-
materials.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other, I see Commissioner Fresco.
Is there a way we can get some kind of a tabulation at our meetings about what AAs have come through, just so that we can keep a tab on how our incentives for housing are actually doing, and if we want to?
Yeah, we do maintain a list on the website, and we could give you that. We could definitely point you in that direction. Are you talking about having something presented?
Well, if there's a way, finding things on the city website is not always a
We can guide
direct
you.
process, so.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that there's a pretty robust housing summary on the city planning website that has projects under construction.
Well, there's that big chart, but
Yeah,
it's.
and the pie
little-
chart and everything. So
Yeah,
there's definitely
okay.
that. We could think about what else we can provide. It's definitely a moving target because there are a lot of things coming in, but
There are, well, that's kind of what I wanted to know. Are there a lot of things coming?
No, I mean, there definitely are. And part of what we're
Okay.
seeing is a lot of projects that were either previously entitled are coming in to take advantage of the new standards. So they're being
Oh, that's
revised
interesting.
and becoming larger. And then even some projects that were pending but hadn't been approved yet, those applications are being updated to reflect the new standards. So I would say that the housing developers are definitely taking advantage of the new standards adopted by the city council.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you for that report. Those questions, let's get back to 3A. Are we ready to move forward with that?
We are. Thank you. Thank
Hey,
you for
we
your
do have a couple of
patience.
speakers though, so I want.
Oh, okay.
We have, I guess this is 3B, I'm sorry. So Jerry Rubin. Jerry, you put in three chits. All right, I got you. No, but that was on a prior item.
Thank you again, Chair Reese, Jerry Rubin, Santa Monica. I assume this is on the agenda item.
This is for the oath of office agenda item that you, oh, I'm sorry. Jerry, you spoke about that. Commissioner Landris is right. If you would just give us a minute, we're going to go through the oath of office, and then you wanted to speak on the next item.
Yeah, the
number
next
6.
item. So
So
should
I
I-
apologize. If you just sit down for a second, I'll call you right back up.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so we'll go ahead and do our oath of office for new Commissioner Josh Hamilton. So what I'll do is I know you've done this as a housing commissioner in the past. I will administer the oath so you can repeat after me. I, Josh Hamilton, do solemnly affirm
I, Josh Hamilton, do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of Planning Commissioner
the duties of the Office of Planning Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to oath of office for Commissioner Fresco. Okay. I, Nina Fresco,
I, Nina Fresco,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of Planning Commissioner
the duties of the Office of Planning Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And finally, oath of office for Commissioner Reese. I, Jim Reese,
I, Jim Reese,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the Office of Planning Commissioner
the Office of Planning Commissioner
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great. All right, thank you. Welcome, new commissioner, and welcome back Nina and Jim. Let's
And
move on
thanks to Roxanne for making that into small enough pieces that we could remember them.
Yeah, that's very true. We do appreciate that. Okay, Jerry Rubin for public comment. 3B.
Well, thank you again, Chair Reese and Vice Chair Raskin and all of you wonderful commissioners, city staff, and fellow Santa Monicans. I just wanted to speak briefly on this agenda item to recognize the longtime dedicated service of Mario Fondo Bernardi. And he's been a friend for many, many years. And naturally, when I was speaking at the council meeting, I was urging them to reappoint him. I mean, but we only have 7 members, and sometimes it goes a certain way, and sometimes it doesn't. And we're all talented and good people. I didn't always agree with Mario, but then again, I don't always agree with myself. But there was one thing that stood out with me in all his years, and it really shined brightly when he wrote an article for the Santa Monica Mirror on the need and the practicality of having a private tree ordinance here in the city of Santa Monica. And a lot of people that love trees and environmentalists really want to thank you for that. And I do hope that city staff and all of you commissioners will maybe follow up on the work that's already been done, even though COVID hit and cut the budget. It's just too important to our community and planet Earth to not move forward on that, because most of our trees are on private property, and this could be a win-win for everyone, make it a lot easier to move ahead in the future if we do it in a fair way. So I just want to thank you, Mara, for your years of service, and I know you'll still be active. Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you very much, Jerry. Staff, I don't know if you had thoughts on how the rest of this item goes, but I imagine that each of us as commission have some thoughts that we would like to share.
I guess I thought I would just say a couple of sentences, and then certainly, Chair Reese, if you'd like to proceed on and then call on folks who'd like to provide some recognition to Mario. Mario, I just wanted to say on behalf of the planning, our entire department, thank you for your service on the Planning Commission since 2015. You have consistently demonstrated a commitment to sustainability, to a walkable Santa Monica, a more resilient human scale community. You've done that. You've furthered those goals and those principles through your work on the commission, and we thank you very much for your time with us. Thinking back, you've been participating in Santa Monica issues for as long as, well, for the 19 years that I've been with the city. You have been a part of the conversation, so looking forward to your participation in another form going forward. So thank you.
And I just want to echo Roxanne's words, but also thank you personally, Mario. We worked together a lot over the years, so it's been really great, and we know you'll still be around, so we look forward to that. And I know there's roofs in Santa Monica that have more solar equipment because of you, and that's, I think, a great contribution, because you've always been really focused on sustainability issues and bringing those up and making sure that it's top of mind for all of us. So that's something we really appreciate. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, staff. Commissioners, I imagine if people don't have something that they want to say, I will say stuff, but I think people do. So Commissioner Lambert. Commissioner Lambert.
Well, thank you. Mario, I am really going to miss you, and I'm really going to miss your panettone at Christmas. Although you kind of fell down during COVID. When I came on the commission, you'd been here a year, and we really kind of came from different points of perspective in terms of what was going on in Santa Monica. But I feel like in the 7 years that I've been here, I've really learned to appreciate you. I think I've grown a lot in terms of seeing other points of view and appreciating them. And I'm not always right, which was a hard recognition. And your technical input has been invaluable, and your sustainability advocacy, I'm really so grateful for you. And I'm sure you'll be doing something else in this building sometime soon. So thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert. I'm sorry, Landris.
So I will. At this point, we become repetitive, but I do want to say many of the same things. What the morning after I the appointments were made, I sent you an email, and I'm going to read you some of what I wrote, which is that I want you to know how much I have appreciated your colleagueship over the past 5 years, beginning with your generous welcome when I joined the commission under your leadership as chair. I think we've done really good work together. Both our usual agreements, I think we've been in agreement really most of the time, and we have occasionally disagreed, and I think that both our agreements and our disagreements really have led to better outcomes for our city and for our community. I was just actually reading a David Brooks piece in The Atlantic. It was asking why Americans have become so mean to each other. And it was the answer that he gave at the end of the article, which I encourage people to read, is that many parts of we've lost the ability to disagree agreeably, and we've lost the ability to recognize that we're all in search of some good, and that we can actually coexist. And I think that what we've tried to model that on this planning commission, and where we have had serious and substantive disagreements, we've taken the time to listen to each other, and I think you've really modeled that by asking probing questions, offering serious criticisms, because I know and respect that you've had real concerns about particularly the housing element process that we just went through. And I think even though ultimately you came down in a different place than I did, your honorable dissents and disagreements made it a stronger document, and I'm grateful to you for that, and I think our city should be grateful to you for that. So I really do hope that the future planning commissions will remain as focused on sustainability and stub outs and PV as you have been, and I will do my part to help ensure that they are, at least for as long as I'm here, and I hope you will continue to keep us on our toes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fresco?
Sorry, with the mask, I couldn't tell for sure.
I apologize for the mask, but it's for your safety.
Yeah. Well, I first met you in 1999 at an OPCO, Architectural Review Committee meeting in the Ocean Park Library, and I know that was not the beginning of your public service career in Santa Monica, but it was the beginning of mine, and, thanks for introducing me to the fun of wonkiness. And all of these years since then, we've saved the Shotgun House, and we've started the Conservancy, and we've done so many amazing things. And having you here on the commission has been a delight, and I'm really sad that you're not going to be here with us any longer. And I know that you're going to go on to do more things, and I have a lot of ideas for what those things could be, so let's talk.
It's scary.
Over here, folks. Vice Chair Raskin.
Yeah, we first met the first week that I came to Santa Monica when you were working as a expert witness on a case I was working on, and didn't realize at that time that you had such a long history of involvement in Santa Monica, and you were the first person to really reach out to me and welcome me with open arms to the Planning Commission. And what I didn't really realize until we were both planning commissioners is that you've got a really cool history of civic activism that extends far beyond just Santa Monica. Going back to the anti-war movement and many, many other things. And I have greatly appreciated your collegiality and wisdom on this commission, and certainly look forward to seeing you continue to participate in these discussions moving forward.
Thank you.
Commissioner Tolkien.
Mario, just want to thank you for
Come up to the mic, please.
mentoring this aging architect when he first joined the Planning Commission, and for all your work in terms of, and I know it's been said, sustainable growth in Santa Monica. It's very important, and you've been a knight in shining armor on this Planning Commission. So I appreciate it, and I'm sure that the city appreciates it.
Thank you.
Well, colleagues, you guys set a high bar for me, and I'm not going to be able to hurdle it. But Mario, I have appreciated our time working together on the commission. Yes, the sustainability is important. I think your clarity on architectural issues is important. I know that we'll still be working on sustainable issues for the next 20 years, at least. But I really appreciated your clarity at times. There were times where I was not, in my mind, I wasn't supportive of something or a project, but there was something that you said that made it so clear that this was really the right path to go down. And I don't want to repeat what other people said, but I absolutely agree with it. The thing to me that really stands out is when I came on this commission, I thought the one person I'm probably going to be on polar opposite sides of is Mario. And Mario, I don't think that's true at all. And in fact, I think I've barely scratched the surface with you, but I really appreciated the opportunity. So I look forward to other opportunities out there.
Thank you.
Great.
I think it's my turn, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, thank you for all those kind words. It's greatly appreciated. And the other thing I could say about this whole experience, 8 years of this, is that I have learned a lot more than I have given back. This is a very steep learning curve, and Josh, welcome aboard, but buckle up because this thing takes off and you're going to be flying, and it's going to be good. It's going to be very good. I'm very jealous of this commission because I think we managed to kind of wrestle the housing element into the can, and now it's in the can, and now everyone's going to see the movie, but now we get to do real planning, and by real planning, I mean looking ahead at what the future might be like, and that's going to be very exciting. There's a lot of good stuff that can be done. Jerry Rubin mentioned one thing, tree ordinances, but there's a whole panoply of things, bicycles, pedestrians, solar photovoltaic. We haven't even scratched the surface on batteries, so there's a lot of fun stuff that you guys or gals are going to get to play with, and I hope you have as much fun as I've had over the last 8 years. The last thing I'd like to say is that read the Mirror Smart Column. That's where you'll be able to hear me babbling away. And it's you may not agree with it, and I think that's been the history of our relationship, is that often we don't agree. But one of the things this commission has done is developed a surprising degree of comity, given the different points of view that all of you bring to the table. And I hope that's exemplary both for the public viewing us, but also for other activities you might be doing where there are things going to collide, and that there's a way of making that collision so it doesn't break everything up, that sort of works around. And I think that's where I've learned a lot from you all. And so good luck. And I hope you have as much fun as I did. So thank you.
Thanks again, Mario. Okay.
Everything in California ends with returning the parking permit.
I'm not saying that. Okay. We are going to move on to agenda item number 5, which is Planning Commissioner announcements. And I think I'll start with this. And this is regarding request to speak. If you're interested in speaking tonight, you need to fill out a speaker sheet, which is in the back of the room that looks like this. Bring it up and hand it to Sheila, the clerk. And then we will call you up as the item is announced. And then I'll ask for, if there's any commissioners who have announcements. Commissioner Lambert.
Yeah, I attended a community meeting on 2501, 2525 Wilshire the other night. It's the first time I've actually ever done it. I didn't go to the Gelson's meeting. And it was really, it was better than TV. I don't know how many, if you're familiar with the project, but it's basically a 7-story code compliant project, but it's a density bonus project, so they've added another story to it. So it's 8 stories. And that's compliant. And what hit me was the residents I actually got a call from a couple of residents the next day. What's going on? Well, I felt like saying, but I didn't. Where have you been for the past 3 years? There's all this upzoning that's been going on, and it really dawned on me that there are a lot of people in Santa Monica who don't know what we did. And I think this is just the beginning of large projects going onto the boulevards and people going into absolute culture shock in the neighborhoods, and I'm not sure how we can make that better. I mean, we're not going to change it, but how can we make it better to educate people? Because it was really dramatic the other night, and I had a paper bag over my head, so they didn't know who I was. So.
Yeah, that's a real issue. I see that on social media. Everyone thinks that there's something nefarious happening, even though the rules changed over 3 years. So, any other announcements before I announce that I've skipped an important agenda item?
Well, while you are still the chair. I just wanted to make the comment. I was sharing it with Mario on the way in that it's a little geekery, but I finally had the opportunity to see Barcelona superblocks in reality as they're being installed, and to see some of the creativity that the city has pursued in terms of creating lower traffic streets. And while there are some aspects of these superblocks that I genuinely don't think are translatable to Santa Monica, I think there are many elements that are. And so it's, they come up from time to time in our conversations about what a sustainable city looks like and what a pedestrian-friendly or bike-friendly city looks like, and they really are quite promising. And so I can send some photos around if anybody's interested, but from human scale, not from from actually walking through them. But there are some nice things to see, and I hope we continue to look around the world for new ideas as we continue having the fun that Mario anticipated that we would.
Great. Please share those photos. I appreciate it. Okay, I think those are the end of Planning Commissioner announcements. So I'd like to jump back to agenda item 3C, which is the election of officers. Vice Chair Raskin.
I haven't discussed this with other commissioners, but I wonder if, in recognition of Chair Reese's distinguished service as chair, if the other commissioners would indulge putting off the chair rotation for 6 months. That would, I think, give us all an opportunity to still serve in that role and would allow our distinguished chair to continue to serve for 6 more months.
I think it's a good idea because it also gives Commissioner Hamilton a chance to get to know who we are, so he'll know who he's voting for, even though it's rotational. I think that's a good idea, Alice.
Commissioner Landers.
I agree that it is a good idea, but I believe that our bylaws obligate us to hold an election. And so accordingly, in the spirit of that agreement, the bylaws do not obligate us to hold an election for a period certain. So I would nominate Chair Reese and Vice Chair Raskin to serve for a period of 6 months.
Second.
Okay. We have a first and a second. There's a motion on the table, and I want to speak to it. Thank you very much. I really enjoy the opportunity to be a chair. So the more I can do it, that I will fight for that. Any opportunity,
We can tell you love it.
Any opportunity I can. But I appreciate you guys giving that opportunity.
All right, ready for a roll call vote. On the motion to maintain Chair Reese as chair and Commissioner Raskin as our vice chair. Commissioner Fresco.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert.
Yes.
Commissioner Landris.
Yes.
Vice Chair Raskin.
Yes.
Commissioner Tolkien.
Yes.
Chairperson Reese.
Yes. Thanks again. It is definitely an honor. Okay. Now, let's see if the chair can get the numbers right on the agenda. So we've gone through 5. Let's get to 6, which is public comment. On non-agendized items, these are items that are not part of tonight's discussion, and I believe I have one speaker's slip for Jerry Rubin. It's a trifecta for you tonight, Jerry.
My third time up here, but I'll be brief, but I just think it's so important. And it's been discussed and debated for years, but it's worth it to save the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. And I know People are saying some people are regrouping to do that. But that's not true. It's many people are grouping to do that because it's really the right thing to do. And I understand the economic issues, but where there's a will, there is a way. And if any facility deserves to be saved for a multicultural, educational, and artistic community facility, as the community already has shown through many processes, that's what it wants it to be, then we could find and give another opportunity to raise money through so many different ways. I won't belabor the point anymore, but I hope the Planning Commission can discuss that and understand how important that facility has been in the past, and we all know that, we've all been there, and how it will continue if we can all unite together in the future. So I just wanted to give a pitch. I know the school board's meeting tomorrow, and a number of people will be there, and it's just something I hope you all put your hearts and minds to. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, moving on to number 7, which is consent calendar items. We have none. Under 8, we have no study sessions. Under 9, we have continued items. 9A is 655 Appian, which is a continued item. This will be continued until September 20th, where public comment at the time will be limited to the scope of the new information provided at the time.
Can I ask for clarification? Does that mean the public hearing will be not on what we heard before, but on what it comes up, like the new STOA, for example?
Correct. Only on new information presented.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, number 10, or else we're moving on, 10, we have 10A, discussion of Planning Commission's Board 2023 Boards and Commission Report Questionnaire.
I'm going to make a suggestion from staff that this commission considering voting to reorder the agenda and move 10A behind the 2 public hearing items, since we do have folks here, and go ahead and prioritize their attendance.
So moved.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Can do that by
Okay, so
voice.
for the record, we are going to move our agenda around and move this kind of bureaucratic agenda item to the back of our agenda so we can get to the 2 public hearings and get the community home.
Since we're all here, can we approve that by voice vote?
Yes.
Great.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions?
I miss voice votes. I miss voice votes.
Okay. Moving on to item number 11. We have it's 2022 ENT 0151 is a development review permit, 23 ENT 077, I'm sorry, 0007, vesting tentative track parcel, or vesting tentative parcel map at 1620 Euclid. So we'll start with ex parte disclosures. Do we have any ex partes? Commissioner Fresco.
I received an email requesting a meeting from the applicant's attorney, and I said I would let him know if I had any questions, and I didn't.
Okay. Commissioner Hamilton?
Yeah, I too received that email, and I deferred until I was a true commissioner to accept a meeting on this issue.
Great. Commissioner Hamilton, just for the record too, is we are typically asked to forward on those emails we get to staff, so it's part of the public record too.
I'll do that.
Commissioner Lambert.
Yeah, I was contacted by CJ Laffer as well, and I told him that I didn't have any questions about the project.
Okay.
Same. I forwarded mine to Sheila, and I think it
saw it.
became
We
the
saw it.
posted exemplar.
Right.
So-
Yeah, I received the same email and had a very brief telephone conversation with CJ Laffer last Friday to let him know that I had no questions and a meeting was not necessary.
I got the email, but I hadn't talked to them.
Okay, great. So mine's going to be a little bit longer. I did not see that email because I have typically recused myself for this client before because of a perceived conflict of interest, because this client has some business with my wife's architectural firm, and I have stepped down because of that. But in reevaluating the rules for the FPCC and the amount of work this company has with my wife's firm, I do not see a conflict anymore, and I'm not going to step down, because I think that I can provide a clear and concise action on the Planning Commission.
So, would there be an appetite to waive the staff report?
That's if you guys
move to waive the staff report.
Okay. Do we have a second? Second. Is this a?
Don't leave yet. We haven't voted.
We had such a fun time with the voice vote. Should we do it again, or do we do?
Yes, you can
I'm
do
gonna
that.
I'm going to let you do it this time.
Okay, so there's a
Voice.
motion to waive the staff report, and that can be conducted by voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No,
Okay, that motion passes.
I'm opposed because I think a new commissioner should get to hear the staff report, even if he doesn't want to.
Okay, well, that motion passes, so we're not going to hear the staff report. We know Josh Hamilton reviewed the staff report, though. So at this point, if we could have the applicant presentation, we would appreciate it.
Sorry, Josh. I'm sure you were desperate for that.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, we're ready. You have.
Okay. Good evening, honorable commissioners and staff and guests. My name is Laura Durgis. I'm with Redcar Properties, and we're the developer and owner of 1630 Euclid. So thank you for hearing us this evening. Joining me here tonight are CJ Laffer, land use attorney with Harding Lamore, Jackie Ray, our project manager with Redcar, and Allie Carr with House and Robertson Architects. I'd like to offer just a brief introduction to Redcar Properties. We are based in Santa Monica and Bergamot. We've been in business for about 12 years. We specialize in creative offices using high quality finishes, and we strive to create a home away from home, which is a sustainable, comfortable, and embraced indoor-outdoor usability. Our ethos is to reuse materials. Thank you. Next slide. Our ethos is to reuse materials, incorporate solar and EV, public art, landscaping, operable windows, outdoor amenities, and pedestrian-friendly locations. Most of our projects are located along metro lines in Los Angeles, Culver City, and Santa Monica. And this is a few images of our properties here in Santa Monica. In Santa Monica alone, we own over 15 buildings, and they're in various phases of design, construction, or operation. And in this particular area along Euclid and 14th Street, we have 8 projects. Some of them are operational, and some of them are new developments. 1630 is kind of on the end there, you can see, adjacent to 1650. Our goal here is to enhance the connection between our buildings, Memorial Park, and the metro stops. And we are trying to provide not only office, but also food service amenities and possibly other amenities, which will enhance both our offices and nearby businesses. We're very excited to be introducing a mass timber project, and we're completing the largest CLT project in Los Angeles right now in Chinatown. We've received several awards for that project. We've also received a Southern California Development Forum Award for 1640 14th Street, and of course the Santa Monica Conservancy Award for the Mendota block, which we own. And we are also a Santa Monica certified green business. So I'd now like to turn it over to CJ Laffer to go through the application and entitlements.
Good evening, Commissioners. As you can see here, the project site is located between Olympic Boulevard and Colorado Avenue in the IC zoning district, and this is principally an employment zone. Historically, this area of Santa Monica has been characterized by a variety of industrial and commercial uses and building types. For example, the site immediately to the northeast, fronting on Colorado, is home to a large Mercedes service facility, and the property to the northwest is the new Tesla repair facility. Due to the historic rail right-of-way along Colorado and the lot configuration of the properties fronting Colorado, the network of street and alleys between 11th and 14th Street and between Lincoln and 11th are all dead end, and they don't connect through to cross Colorado. This creates small commercial pockets that are only accessible from Olympic. In recent years, this area has been undergoing an exciting economic transition, and a range of creative uses, including production facilities and studios and other creative office spaces, have moved into this area. This has been in part to capitalize on proximity to the Expo Light Rail line and the 17th and Colorado Station, and it has also allowed for economic and creative synergies between these uses. Among these new projects is Redcar's building immediately to the south at 1650 Euclid that's currently under construction and which is expected to be completed next year. As well explained in detail in the staff report, the Tier 2 project proposed has a 1.75 FAR and a height of 45 feet. It's consistent with both the loose and the zoning ordinance. This code-compliant project requires no zoning variances or modification, and as shown ably and substantially in the CEQA checklist included with the staff report, will have no significant adverse environmental impacts. The creative office use itself is permitted by right, and this building is appropriately designed for this site and the surrounding commercial district. As a Tier 2 project, Redcar only seeks one additional story, 13 additional feet, and 0.75 additional FAR above what would otherwise be allowed for a by right project at Tier 1. However, the total community benefits here are around $1.5 million, which is around $900,000 additionally beyond what would be generated by a Tier 1. It's also worth noting that the project site was not identified in the suitable sites inventory as part of the housing element update. So in conclusion, this project is consistent with the purposes of the IC district and the goals, policies, and objective of the LUCE in terms of 1, pedestrian orientation, 2, context-sensitive building design, 3, focusing new development along transit corridors, 4, supporting the growth of creative industries, and 5, enhancing the city's employment base for economic diversification. Accordingly, the project meets all requirements for this commission to make the findings to approve the DRP and the parcel map. Now, Jackie Ray from Redcar and Ali Carr from House & Robertson will show you some of the highlights of the building design.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jackie Ray, project manager at Redcar. It's a pleasure to see you all this evening. So I will be describing the building design and go through the floor plans of the project. The building massing is arranged into 2 main volumes with a centrally located entry accessible from Euclid Street. Inner courtyards allow a seamless integration of office spaces with the outdoors, while also allowing natural daylight to permeate into the core of the building structure. Additional outdoor spaces include the roof deck, along with the balconies and patios facing Euclid Street. And the front balconies in particular offer enhanced landscaping and significant shading for windows along the northeastern facing side. A landscape buffer along the front introduces a softened sidewalk edge. These aspects substantially improve the existing conditions and contribute to an activated and enhanced Euclid streetscape. 12th Court, which is the alley facing side, is also enhanced by secondary entry and exit, landscaping, and a variety of durable materials. At the ground level, the building is accessed from both Euclid Street and 12th Court. And the cafe is positioned along Euclid Street with adjacency to outdoor patio areas. The front of the building is also has a row of street trees. Vehicles that park below grade enter the garage at 1650, which is just south of this building, through the ramp, which is accessible by 12th Court. Within the subterranean parking levels, the ramp is centrally located on the overall site. The drive aisles split to allow entry into both parking areas, one on the 1630 side and one on the 1650 Euclid side. As we go up the building, levels 2 and 3 have smaller roof terraces and balconies in several locations throughout the building, which offer tenants a variety of indoor and outdoor office space opportunities. I will now pass it on to Ali Carr with House & Robertson Architects, who will speak more about the sustainability aspects of the project.
Hello, and thank you for your time. My name is Ali Carr, and I'm from House & Robertson, representing the executive architecture team on the project. The 1630 Euclid project continues to push forward for sustainable options as demonstrated by the large number of solar panels being installed on the roof. Additionally, there are long-term and short-term bike parking options as well as facilities for those who choose to commute by bike. The parking levels also accommodate for EV charging stations. The project makes use of a below-grade cistern for stormwater management as well as drought-tolerant landscaping and open spaces. Additionally, through landscaping and the installation of art, the streetscape is greatly improved for the neighborhood. The team was keen to add additional trees to the environment as well as keep traffic diverted away from the street by utilizing one parking ramp and eliminating curb cuts at 1630 Euclid. Additional sustainable features include the use of mass timber in the project. 1630 Euclid is designed as a mass timber building. Several benefits of mass timber include the ability for mass timber to absorb and store carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. We are partnering with a mass timber supplier who is passionate about sustainable forestry practices, including replanting and only cutting down young trees, allowing for old growth to continue. The use of mass timber results in less pollution, waste, and emissions during the manufacturing process, especially when compared to traditional building materials such as concrete or steel. Another benefit is the construction schedule is 4 months quicker using mass timber. Additional to the time-saving features, the use of mass timber reduces construction parking impact with less deliveries to the site and a shorter time of trucks on site while delivering. A reduction in deliveries results in less neighborhood noise and an overall improvement in construction impacts to the neighbors. Mass timber also has a great aesthetic appeal as a design material and produces intrigue from those viewing the site from the road or those occupying the building. Additionally, we have prepared a photometric study to demonstrate that the light levels at the exterior will provide a safe and comforting environment without detracting from the architecture of the structure. Thank you for your time. Now I'd like to pass the mic back to Laura from Redcar.
Okay, so I'd like to just make a couple of closing statements. Besides the economic benefits of this project, I think we've demonstrated that we're really taking on a whole city block here and making improvements that will benefit not only our projects, but those around us. And we have a lot of history in Santa Monica with the tenants and the buildings, which we think will help us to develop and deliver a very successful product. I'd like to open it up for questions, and I also wanted to mention that we have our landscape architect and lighting designer here too, if there's anything that you would like to discuss. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like we'll have at least a couple questions for you.
My question concerns parking. The parking in the building under construction now is to code, right? Because the proposed one is 5 less spaces than code.
Correct.
Have you done any utilization studies of creative office around major transit nodes? I mean, you're only a few blocks from the expo station. It seems like an awful lot of parking. What do you base that on?
We haven't done any studies.
Wait, can I get you to come back to the mic and speak into the mic so that so the public can hear you, please?
I have a really loud voice, so I forget that. We haven't done any parking studies of that regard, but we are putting in stackers on the upper level, which means that we could actually reduce that parking if we found that it was unnecessary. But to date, our market studies have proven that people do want to have parking. So we're putting in parking that we think will meet market needs.
What is a stacker?
A stacker is a lift that provides too high parking. So you pull in and then it lifts that car up and you can park underneath it.
So you can compact them?
You could do something. We've done that on a number of projects.
Thank you.
Commissioner Landers.
Just really quickly, the bike parking, which level is it on? I couldn't find it.
Of course. So we have some short-term bike parking on the exterior on 12th Court, and then additionally we have bike parking on level 1. So the first below grade parking. We have short-term and long-term bike parking, as well as the facilities attached.
Okay, and the grade of the ramp is what?
The grade of the ramp is code compliant, but our recommendation would be for users that are using their bikes to come through the entrance and not go down the ramp.
So they're going to come through the entrance and take the elevator down with the bike? So that, okay. And then the short-term bike parking that's at grade, is it out of sight of the public right-of-way?
In the alley.
Yeah, okay.
It's in the alley.
It's in the alley, but.
I think she just said.
Right, but is it out of sight of the public right-of-way? It could be in the alley and still be visible in the alley.
It is visible, yes.
It is visible.
Yes. In the alley, yes.
Okay, you don't have any way of screening it a little bit?
Of course.
Tell them why do you want it.
Yeah.
We could screen it, but we thought it would be more inviting to have it open so that people see it as an amenity.
Right. I think the issue is that bike theft can happen in mere seconds. And for a lot of people, the idea that their bike for any length of time would be visible to somebody walking by and looking for an opportunity to avail themselves of a bike would deter use of a bike parking like that. So I would encourage you, I wouldn't necessarily condition it. I think you're going to find from your own users whether they use it, but I would encourage you to screen it so that it's not visible from anyone who's walking by in the public right of way, whether it's the alley or the street or anywhere else.
Commissioner, let's go to Commissioner Fresco, please.
I have a similar and opposite comment, which is that is there a way to get the bike parking on the front, on the 12th Street entrance, so somebody who's never been there before who comes up with a bike will know what to do with their bike? That would be my concern.
We have discussed that. We haven't studied it yet, but that's something we could study.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yeah, thank you. I actually had a similar question about the short-term bike parking and having it off the alleyway. Kind of to other commissioners' points about bike theft. Is there a way to bring that onto Euclid Street so it's more visible, by people in the office buildings and surrounding areas? So does it,
We can look at that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
haven't looked at it yet. But we can.
Great. Vice Chair Raskin.
Got a question for staff. I don't know when the appropriate time is for that.
Let's get through them first, and then we'll go to staff afterwards. Any questions, Commissioner Tolkien? Turn your mic on and please come on up. You turned it on.
I was wondering, you've got a lot of roof cover there that doesn't have solar panels on it. And to maximize the solar panels on that roof, you could still have those planting areas. I was wondering whether you had looked into that or not.
We have. The way the roof is designed, we have mechanical equipment up there as well, air conditioning equipment. So there's not a lot more room for solar panels. If there were, we would put more on there. We actually try to maximize the amount of solar panels and the available, because you have to maintain access for exterior facade access and various things like that. But yes, we want to maximize the amount of solar panels we have.
Okay, I have a couple questions for you. I agree with what the other commissioner said. I think the short-term bike parking should be up on Euclid, where there's eyes on the street, and it's more visible and friendly than in the alley. Can you talk to me a little about the cafe? Who's going to use it, and remind me again how many square feet? Is it just for the office building? I think it's a great amenity. I'm just concerned that it's going to have trouble staying in business.
It's not intended to just be for the office users. There's a patio on the front, and it's accessible to whoever would like to come in. We have not found a tenant yet, but when we do, we would expect they'd like to have as many, patrons as possible. So we have no problem with it being an amenity for everybody.
Yeah, it's just kind of a sleepy little street there that dead ends. So I wish that person well. Then can you explain me, you said you were trying to create connections with Memorial Park and a light rail. What does that look like?
Today, you would have to walk around, but in the future, we have other properties in this area. We're hoping to create a through-block connection.
Interesting.
And
That'd
the
be
idea-
fantastic if you could do it, because it is a big,
Well, when we come see you with that project, you'll be excited.
okay. I said it would be
Yeah,
fantastic.
okay.
As is your use of CLT. Appreciate that. So I think those were my main comments, and other than that, I have not had a chance to opine on your projects before, but I love their designs. They're very unique and distinctive, and you know when you walk down the street that you're by a Redcar project. So those are my comments, and I think at this point we're done with your presentation, and we're going to go to public comment and ask staff comments. Do we have any public speakers?
No, we do not.
Okay. No public speakers, so at this point, if we have questions of staff,
Yeah, I don't know who the best person is to answer this. This is somewhat outside of the scope of this project, but I'm curious if the city has design standards, or perhaps there are other transportation design standards for these types of dead-end alleys where really the end of the right-of-way goes right up to a wall that's owned by somebody that I assume has installed the reflectors on their wall. And I'm just curious, what types of standards are out there, and what the universe of possibilities are for activating a blank wall like that.
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with any public works requirements for this type of situation of alley.
Yeah, I'm with James. I don't know either. It's something we could follow up and check with Public Works and Mobility. This is a unique situation created for those few streets that dead end into those walls, but we could certainly dig into that and see if there's anything.
Yeah, I recognize it's outside of the scope of this project. I'm just curious, honestly.
is it a discussion you're trying to have about the aesthetics or the safety of it?
Well, kind of both. When I looked at this wall, I've driven up and down these streets a few times, and it's just kind of striking when you
get to the end.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe a place for a mural that looks like you're driving into a cave or something.
Yeah, like a Wile E. Coyote situation or something.
I think it's more like the end of the Truman Show, like when he gets to the end of the.
Well, in reality, the railroad ceased to function around 1953, and that warehouse went up soon after, and it follows the railroad right-of-way in a very slashy, opportunist kind of way before we had standards like we have today.
James, I'm sorry, I had one other question for you. So my other question is, they used a track map to combine the lots. Could they have just used or they used a parcel map, I'm sorry. Could they have just done a lot tie?
Yeah, that probably would have worked as well, but I believe they were trying to capitalize on the vesting opportunities of a parcel map.
Huh, okay, well, that's interesting. All right, thank you. Okay, with that, Commission, we have no more questions of staff or the applicant, so I'll close the public hearing, and we're here for discussion and potential motions. Commissioner Landers.
I am happy to move this. I would move all the things. So
Second.
I will move that we approve 22 ENT 0159 development review permit, 23 ENT 0007 vesting tentative parcel map.
I would second that.
And the CEQA determination?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading. Oh, I see. And the CEQA exemption, I move that as well.
I'll second that as well, but
I have just one
But wait, let's hear the but first.
I would like to ask that we put a condition that the applicant consider moving bike parking to Euclid Street.
Can do what?
Oh, it's
Moving short-term
that's-
bike parking to Euclid Street.
That is friendly as long as it's screened from the public right of way, and we're only asking them to consider it. We're not making them do it.
Well, I would just leave it as consider, and I'm sure they'll make it pretty
Okay.
and safe, because that's what they do.
Okay, that's friendly.
Okay.
All right. Do you need to find somewhere to write that?
We have we have this.
We have ways.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, we have Commissioner Lambert. has a
I just want to
question.
make a comment. I mean, I think the world of this developer and the project, but it really concerns me that we're building so much parking within 2 blocks of an expo station. And it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I like the contractible idea. That's really terrific. So you can take away parking spaces if you don't need them. So I wonder, sometime in the future, if we want to think about a code amendment to put that into writing, that if you're that, 500 feet, whatever, from an expo station, that you would do contractible parking, so that you don't have a gazillion parking spaces that you don't need, or that you're encouraging people to drive to.
Yeah, I think the contractible is not, the lift can go away, but the fact of the matter is they're building 2 levels of subterranean parking. And on one level, they're putting in lifts that give them twice as much parking. So it reduces their parking per se, but they're still digging this massive hole. So I'm not sure I know what you're getting at, and I absolutely agree with you. We don't want a lot of parking,
Right.
but I don't think the lifts is really the issue
If
here.
it's something, I
It's
mean.
they got 2 subterranean levels. If they built 1 subterranean level and had lifts in that would be more comfortable for us, I think. But, we can't, they have to work with the market.
I understand, but it just doesn't make sense.
I absolutely agree.
I just I observed that the first level of parking has a much higher ceiling than the second level. Isn't that right? I'm pretty sure I saw that.
Well, it's probably
And so because there's only 1 ramp for 2 buildings, that means the second building with the higher, they can put a whole different use in there if the parking becomes superfluous. Housing, well, not housing, because we need windows, dear. But certainly a gym or some other movie theater, there's all kinds of amenities they could put in a basement like that if parking isn't needed. And so this kind of development is actually a little better than one that's all ramps.
Yes, sir.
The observation that I would make to that, and I think that comes to the issue of the wall, is that if there were an easy and safe and well-lit and escapable path from this property to the expo line, I might feel more, I feel a lot of empathy for what you're saying, Commissioner Lambert, but I might feel a lot more empathy for it. But the problem is that for someone to go from that office, from that property to the expo line, there is not a well-lit, safe, wide-open, escapable pathway to the expo line. They have to walk all the way down to the Olympic, all the way over to 14th, back, and then up and back over to 17th. So the market is going to demand parking in a world like that. I think it raises right, but I think I think you're making a really good point, and I also think that, and maybe this will come up with the Bike Ped Action Plan or other conversations about the future of mobility in Santa Monica. The bigger point that I want to make is, how can we encourage safe, accessible, and escapable access to the expo line from as many streets as possible? Because when we can do that, then we can make demands, I think, about reduced parking. Until we can do that, I think we're a little bit constrained.
Jerry, if I could just make a comment about the parking issue you're bringing up. We do have parking maximums in certain parts of the city. So downtown, we don't require any parking, and we have a maximum on how much parking a development can provide. We also have something in the Bergamot area plan that once we achieve a certain number of new parking spaces, then there's a cap on how many additional
I didn't know that.
spaces.
That's great.
Yeah, so
That's what we should do.
just so you're aware of that, that's something you could discuss in the future from a policy perspective.
Terrific.
See
Thank
if
you.
that's something you want to expand.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so we have a first, a second. Let's call the question, as Commissioner Fonda Bernardi would say.
Okay, so this is a motion to approve, as outlined in the staff report, including a condition that the applicant consider relocation of the short-term bicycle parking, at least a portion of it, to Euclid Street, and consider options for screening. And is that captured correctly?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Fresco.
Yes. I'm not
Commissioner
used to being
Hamilton.
first.
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert?
Yes.
Commissioner Landris?
Yes.
Vice Chair Raskin?
Yes.
Commissioner Tolkien?
Yes.
Chairperson Reese?
Yes. Okay, that motion carries and the project is approved. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We look forward to the next one that has the connection to Colorado. We can.
That's a good idea.
I'm being asked for a 5-minute break. We've been here for an hour and 10 minutes, so let's take 5 minutes and we'll come right back.
Actually have a conversation.
Commission meeting again. And we're going So we're going to have, we're going to start 11B. This is 1707, folks, can we? 1707 4th Street, 2000 ENT 0071. This is an appeal of a sign. And if we could start with ex parte disclosures. I'm going to start with, actually, I'm going to start over here. Commissioner Tolkien, do you have any ex partes? Commissioner, Vice Chair Raskin?
No disclosures.
Commissioner Landers?
No disclosures.
Commissioner Lambert?
No.
Hamilton?
No disclosures.
None.
I have nothing to disclose either. Staff report, please.
Project.
It's literally indescribable.
Sorry if I have to crouch. It's not coming up exactly as I'd hoped. All right. Good evening, Chair Reese and Commissioners. The item before you tonight is an appeal of the Architectural Review Board's denial of sign adjustment, case number 21 ARB 0289. This is a rare occasion at the Commission, as they generally do not see appeals of ARB decisions. This is a de novo hearing, and the Commission will be seeing the same proposal as the ARB with fresh eyes. I apologize, I'm having technical difficulties. Is it going? All right, thank you for your patience. You may be familiar with the site as it is next to Santa Monica High School. It was the former Doubletree Hotel before it was rebranded as the Hilton. The site was developed in 1989 as an 8-story hotel. There is a residential apartment building immediately to the north, and beyond that, the Santa Monica Freeway. To the southeast is an office building that houses the school district, as well as Santa Monica High School beyond that. The Civic Center parking lot is immediately west across 4th Street. The sign adjustment request is for a 100 square foot sign at this location. It's been reviewed and denied by the Architectural Review Board twice. In the year 2020, the upper level sign was included as part of a larger building refresh accompanying the rebranding of the Doubletree Hotel as the Hilton. While the larger project and sign program was approved, the upper level sign was not. A little over a year later, a sign adjustment was applied to review the same upper level sign. The Architectural Review Board reviewed that and denied the second sign adjustment, having found insufficient justifications to make the required findings. Subsequent to that, the applicant made a timely appeal submitted to the city. A PC hearing for the appeal was scheduled for June 1st of this year, but was continued at the request of the applicant in order to obtain additional materials to support their request. The sign adjustment request denied by the ARB was for a 100 square foot sign on the mechanical penthouse above the 8th floor of the hotel. Such a sign is classified in our sign code as an upper level sign. An upper level sign is one mounted on a building that is placed in whole or in part between 30 inches above the second floor line and the top of a parapet or the roof line. The sign code establishes upper level signs as a prohibited sign type. The sign is proposed to face north over the adjacent apartment complex to be visible from the freeway and beyond. Here are the existing conditions at the nearby intersection of the hotel. The top left corner is taken immediately in front of the hotel's driveway. The top right shows the intersection of 4th Street and Olympic looking east. And the bottom left is on 4th Street looking south. In order to approve a sign adjustment, 4 findings must be found in the affirmative. The complete findings are on the screen and provided in the staff report. In summary, the findings are that there must be practical difficulties or unique physical or topographic circumstances that prevent code-compliant signage, that the granting of a sign adjustment does not grant a special privilege to the site inconsistent with the limitations on similar properties, that if approved, the resulting sign would not be incompatible with other nearby signs, and that granting the variance would not be inconsistent with the purposes of the sign code. As detailed in the staff report, the ARB discussed 3 primary justifications for requesting the sign adjustment. The first one was safety. The applicant has stated that the 4th Street and 5th Street off-ramp is not adequately signed and thus creates a safety issue to use. Additionally, if the exit is missed, a driver does not have the opportunity to double back until they reach Entrada or Channel at the city's northern border. The board noted that this condition is not unique to the subject hotel, as the 4th and 5th Street off-ramp from the freeway is the primary freeway exit for much of downtown and Main Street, and would affect numerous businesses, including a dozen or more hotels and motels. Wayfinding. With the ubiquitous availability of GPS programs such as Google Maps or Waze, the ARB did not see a wayfinding justification as a compelling argument. Although not approved at the time of the ARB discussion, the applicant has pointed out in their submitted materials the City Council has recently approved a digital wayfinding program to install signs throughout the city and in downtown. The applicant team has expressed concerns with the customers being unable to identify their building as a hotel, especially with a similarly designed office building sharing their driveway, the school district headquarters I mentioned earlier. The board pointed out that the upper level sign facing the freeway and away from the street with the entrance would likely not solve the identification issues, and recommended that the code compliance signage near the driveway or working with the property owners to differentiate the other building. On the screen here and also within your staff report, I'm sorry, skipped ahead. In addition to the provided justification, the ARB discussed past precedent and allowing an upper level sign and the potential precedent that may be set by the approved subject sign. The board discussed several upper level signs that were both formally presented to the board and some that were discussed but never filed a formal application. The board noted that a number of the hardships expressed by the applicant team were not unique to the site and could be applicable to a significant portion of downtown and other nearby properties and hotels. On your screen now is the table created from a 2019 survey of existing upper-level signs existing in the city along with their permit history. The table is also available in your staff report if you'd like a closer examination. No new upper-level signs have been issued entitlements since this survey was conducted, although the survey has been updated to reflect where signs were removed. As fully discussed in the Statement of Official Action, the ARB was unable to make any of the previously discussed findings required to approve the sign adjustment. As a large, relatively flat corner property, the parcel has ample locations for code-compliant signage that would be visible from 4th Street and Olympic. There have been no sign adjustments to upper-level signs issued in the immediate area at other hotels or similarly tall buildings. No upper-level signs predating their prohibition exist in the immediate area. No upper-level signs predating the prohibition by the zoning code exist within the immediate area. And approving the sign adjustment as proposed would be inconsistent with the goals of Chapter 9.61, the sign code, which in part seeks to limit an excess of large, intense signs which may detract from views of structures and open space. The applicant provided additional materials, including as an attachment to the staff report titled the March 28th Memo. The March 20th memo largely restates the issues raised to the ARB about the wayfinding and freeway off-ramp safety as previously discussed. Additionally, however, the memo makes a correlation between the proposed upper-level sign and the digital wayfinding kiosk program approved by Council in December. In the memo, the applicant states that the signage proposed by the Hilton is less intrusive than the new digital kiosks and assists with wayfinding and alleviating congestion. The proposed interactive digital kiosks are primarily pedestrian-oriented public benefit for the residents, visitors, and workers in Santa Monica in the right-of-way, providing access to Wi-Fi, directions to local businesses and landmarks, emergency phones, real-time transit data, and many other benefits. The kiosks are a special public-private partnership which is not subject to the zoning code as the proposed building sign serving to advertise the Hilton Hotel. No public comments have been received ahead of tonight's meeting. Staff maintains the recommended action proposed at the ARB to deny the appeal and deny the sign adjustment and adopt a statement of official action. The applicant's team is here and staff is available for any questions if you have them.
Commissioner Landers.
Thanks. I just want to say this was such a better presentation than your previous one. You've outdone yourself. But seriously, I'm wondering, Caltrans has a sign program called the Specific Service Sign Program for business logos. It's your food, fuel, lodging signs that can appear on the sides of freeways. I don't think we have any in Santa Monica, and I'm wondering if that is in fact a function of a Santa Monica rule, or, I mean, do we have any control over that? Would Caltrans be free to put up signs like that if they wanted to?
I personally do not know how that interaction would go. Normally, freeway signage is the sole sphere of Caltrans. I don't know if...
There's no barrier, right?
Yeah, it's, I'm just checking with Heidi. I think we both agreed that it would be under the jurisdiction of Caltrans and not the city.
Okay.
So I don't know if there's a reason why they haven't allowed them along the freeway in Santa Monica, or if it just hasn't come up.
Right. And are there any barriers to street level signage for bicyclists and pedestrians? I mean,
at the Hilton property?
Around the Hilton property, around any property in Santa Monica. I mean, if you can put signs at street level, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Any other questions of staff right now? Not seeing any. Thank you very much. We'll ask the applicant team to come up. And you have 15 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you very much. My name is Rocky Delgadillo with DLA Piper. I'm here with my colleague Karen Halleck, also with DLA Piper. I first want to thank the city staff for their professionalism. It's been great. I also want to thank honorable commissioners for your service and your leadership. That's hard to do, so I appreciate that. Hilton is the flagship brand of Hilton and is well known internationally, attracting patrons from all over the world. Hilton recently dramatically improved what was once an underutilized property directly adjacent to the I-10 freeway along 4th Street at the gateway to the Santa Monica Pier and the entertainment and business community here in Santa Monica. Applicant is seeking to add an understated, internally illuminated identification sign. Unfortunately, the Architectural Review Board denied the sign adjustment for the upper level sign. When the hotel was branded a DoubleTree, the hotel had 202.6 square feet of signage consisting of 4 wall signs, 1 monument sign, and 1 parking directional sign. After the hotel was rebranded a Hilton, the hotel is currently approved to have 73.99 square feet of signs that consist of 2 wall signs, 3 parking directional signs, and a small monument sign. If the upper level sign is approved, the hotel will still have 28.6 square feet fewer signs than it did in 2021. So it's a reduction in signage. Wayfinding. Without identification signage visible from the freeway and further away, The hotel has faced an ongoing safety issue of public confusion resulting from the similarly designed yet entirely unassociated adjacent office building. Due to the unique location at the east corner of the intersection of Olympic Boulevard and 4th Street, drivers are unable to identify the hotel in time traveling westbound on the I-10. You all know that because you're here locally, you know there's tons of traffic there. And then they have a hard time merging onto the 4th Street exit. Therefore, drivers must travel an approximately 4.6 miles down the Pacific Coast Highway in order to navigate back to the hotel, causing additional traffic and unsafe U-turns on the highway. And keep in mind that what we're really doing this for is for people who are visiting Santa Monica, tourism, people leaving wallets behind for the city. And also being friendly to bicycles and pedestrians, because that's what you want them to do when they're here, right? And in that case, GPS, which has been given as, oh, that's the cure for all of this, that's not accessible, as easily accessible on a bike or when you're walking, a pedestrian, and if you're a tourist, right? You still have to have some familiarity with where you're at. The proposed identification signage will provide necessary wayfinding and increase traffic safety, especially again for our travelers on foot and on bikes. The sign is designed to limit visual distraction. The proposed sign is 100 square feet. The hotel hopes to keep its presentation along Olympic Boulevard and 4th Street relatively uncluttered, consistent with Hilton's philosophy of understated luxury and hospitality. Hilton Hotel backs up to the high school baseball field and the freeway and fronts 4th Street. The proposed identification sign would not be visible from the high school baseball field due to the angle of the sign. Freeway, but only as a distant brand ID sign. The proposed sign is simple in its design and plainly states Hilton. That's what it states. It's tasteful, it's reasonable. This is a reasonable request for any business of this size and certainly the gateway of such a fine city. Does not clutter the view from the street, does not clutter the view from the freeway, would not be visible from the high school. The sign would help direct patrons unfamiliar with the area to the hotel. Really, I hear already sort of the objections is, oh, we don't want to set a precedent for other hotels, but actually, this might exactly be the precedent you want to set, because it's less signage than there was there before. You're making the city safer, protecting lives. You're making it pedestrian friendly and bicycle friendly. And you're encouraging a world-class brand to the entryway of your city. So this might be exactly the time that you want to set the precedent. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions that you might have, and happy to answer them.
Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Landers.
Thanks for your presentation. I'll ask the same question that I asked, which is, has Hilton explored the specific service business Lobo sign program with Caltrans?
No, we have not. We have not.
Is there a reason? I mean, is there a reason for that?
No, we just haven't. We haven't.
You just
done
haven't.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we are exploring the monument sign. That's something we're still pursuing.
And have you explored other signage opportunities, for example, along the exit at 4th Street, along the exit at 7th? I mean, have you explored other lower level sign options in the neighborhood?
We have not.
You have not. Okay.
Well, by explore, do you mean have we applied for it, or what exactly?
Well, I mean, presumably there are arrangements that could be made depending on where you wanted to put a sign under the public right of way with Caltrans, depending on who owns the land, depending on where you would want to put it. you would rent space from a private property owner, or you would, participate in the Caltrans program or whatever it is. I'm curious, whether you've exhausted those opportunities, because you're making some fairly specific claims about wayfinding. And while I think I agree or disagree in part, but fundamentally, it strikes me that there are other pathways to a similar solution, and it would be helpful to know whether you've exhausted those other pathways.
Yes, well, certainly when the Hilton applied initially, they had worked with a sign consultant and had reviewed the entire area and premises and possibilities for different signage throughout the property and the surrounding area. So in terms of exploring other options, they did do that with their sign consultant.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I just want to add that some of the types of signs you were describing, I probably wouldn't be printed by the sign code. So off-site signage, like if they were to try to put a sign on someone else's property, that's considered off-site signage and not permitted. So there may be an opportunity, like you said, for doing something on the Caltrans property, but not on any public property or private property off of their own site. Yeah.
Okay, I have Commissioner Lambert.
It's amazing to see you. I remember when you were there at Dick Reardon. I was at the CRA. I remember you, but you probably don't remember me.
Yes, I do. You're hard to forget, but I appreciate your service.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I've got to tell you a funny story before I ask a question. When I saw the picture, I thought Hilton was already there and they were going to put a giant eye on the roof. I thought, what does I stand for?
I don't know. I'll ask them if they would go for the eye, but I doubt it. Yeah.
Is there any way currently from the freeway to know that the Hilton Hotel is there?
So we have, like we said, we hired consultants. We asked them to take a look at that. By the way, we could have applied for this different spaces. This is on the parapet wall on the top.
Right,
it's not part of the building, actually, right? So it's not the actual building itself. So and this is what everyone thought was the right one. It's become really, to be honest, an international issue for Hilton. This is like a big deal for them, and that's part of the reason why we're here today. Because, and that reason why I'm here today. So that this is really important for their entire international brand, and they really are they want to be in Santa Monica. That's why they changed the brand from the DoubleTree. I know they own the DoubleTree. In fact, that's where I stayed 25 years ago before I got married. But but it is the next level up for Hilton.
And from the standpoint of ground level signs, I mean, how many people walk to your hotel or bike to your hotel? I mean, generally, isn't it an automobile?
Yeah, well, they do get there by automobile, but once they're there, and I've done it myself actually, you walk everywhere, and then you try to find your way back. And I'm from here, so
that's a different issue.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It is the same. It is the same issue, right? If you're out on 3rd Street Promenade and you're walking back, it's late at night.
That's good.
You don't see a sign,
right?
And it's over there. That's where the Hilton is.
I got it.
That's a really important, especially concerns about public safety on the street, right? So, and that's something I care a lot about. So this is something that I think makes sense. That's why I said this might be the precedent you do want to set, as opposed to it being a precedent that somebody else will then exploit.
Also, just tangentially, on your website, I assume you have a map of the hotel and where it is in Santa Monica.
Yeah,
hotels do.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah, I'm sure.
If you're completely lost, you can do that.
Yeah, but even that, I mean, like even if you're trying to find it on your phone, even if you're trying to use the wayfinding and GPS on your phone for pedestrian, for walking, it's difficult. I've tried it, frankly. It's difficult, especially if you're walking. Maybe you would drive 4 blocks to go to a restaurant on 3rd Street Promenade, but no, I didn't. I walked. Right, that was better. Right, but then it's late at night. It's dark. Okay, now how do I get back?
Mm-hmm.
Even with the wayfinding, it sometimes takes you the wrong way. It takes you the fastest way. It may not be the best way.
I just go over there with my husband.
So yeah, so it's the dynamic is different, right? And that's why we're saying this makes a lot of sense from a lot of different reasons. And it wasn't analyzed by this.
So this sign will be visible coming from the east on the I-10?
Correct.
Or coming from the west?
Well, you'd have to
You're
look
not-
back,
Heading
right?
west, just heading west.
Only heading west.
Heading west, mostly
Okay,
heading west.
Which is
yeah.
what people are doing.
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioners, any other questions? I mean, I'll just ask one question. Have you guys considered a code amendment, filing for a code amendment?
Well, depending on how much leadership this group operates tonight with, we are determined.
I might lead you in that path.
Yes.
Okay.
Look, this, like I said, this is probably the precedent you do want to set.
No, I mean,
we really will send a message. We'll send a very, very strong message, not just to Hilton, but to the customers you're trying to serve in this city.
And the fact that Hilton retained you guys to come out sends a strong message too about their desire for this. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, I do not believe we have any public comment. Do we have any questions of staff as a follow-up
I do.
of staff? Okay.
Do we have to make all 4 findings or just 1 or 2?
All.
All 4.
If I could just make a couple comments about what a sign adjustment is, right? What the sign code is based on. So the sign code is based on First Amendment principles, as you can all imagine, and also equal protection principles. So what you are being asked to consider is an exception to the sign code. So that's why all 4 of those findings need to be met.
Like a variance. Very similar. It's basically a sign variance. Commissioner Landers.
Commissioner Fresco hasn't spoken yet, so I'm happy to let her go before me.
Commissioner Fresco.
I'm ready to plunge into discussion if that's, where you are. I appreciate the persistence of this applicant, but because of their persistence on the ARB level, I feel like the ARB has sent forward a tremendous amount of information for us that has already been very well vetted. And while we may be asked to make a discretionary decision, I personally don't see where the discretion is in terms of these findings. I just, this has been very closely vetted already by the ARB, and I just can't find anywhere else to go with this. So I don't want to make a motion just before anyone's had discussion because it's a difficult question, but I just can't envision.
Okay, well, let's see if other discussion comes up and sways you a different way. Commissioner Landers.
I want to acknowledge that this is important to the applicant, right? I mean, I feel that that's important to acknowledge. To be candid, I can't make the findings. If I could, I would. I can't make I think the special privilege finding, I just can't get there because of the precedent that's been set. That said, I think it's important to say a couple of things. One is, on principle, in general, the sign that's proposed doesn't bother me. I don't think it's horribly detrimental to the fabric of the city of Santa Monica, right? Still can't make the findings, but I think it's important to be said. I do think from a process standpoint, it would have been helpful to have a record established of having tried to put in other signage and not being able to do so. I recognize that this is what you really want, what the applicant really wants, but it would be really interesting to say, well, we tried with Caltrans and we couldn't get there, so we don't have a way of navigating people off the freeway, or whatever it was. Or Santa Monica has a ban on off-site signage, even at street level. Therefore, we don't have a tool to direct people with street level signage from the nearby area if they're coming up Lincoln, if they're coming on the freeway, whatever it is. But that wasn't in the record, and so the ability to consider even the possibility of an exception isn't there for me. But I recognize that this is a global issue. I recognize that it's a global issue for cities that are trying to preserve a sense of character without being bombarded by multiple commercial signs all over the place, and that's the fundamental justification for our sign ordinance. The only observation that I would make at this point is what our chair, I agree with our chair in terms of the code exception. I also think that at such point as this city at some point in the future revisits its sign ordinance or aligns it with, reviews it to align it with developments in First Amendment jurisprudence or whatever it is, to look at standards that would make some sort of a sign like this more possible, or look at other ways of expanding signage in the surrounding neighborhood in the spirit of wayfinding and safety. That having been said, tonight I can't get there.
Commissioner Lambert.
Let me first say that I've traveled a lot, and I don't remember ever seeing a Hilton without a sign like this. Right. This is extremely common, and it's a shame that Santa Monica, whatever. Clearly, 3 out of the 4 findings, in my opinion, can be made. The existing precedent is kind of circular. I mean, if you never allow it, you never have a precedent. So, there's no way you have existing precedent because we've never allowed it. And so it's kind of circular and nonsensical, in my opinion. I think this is a totally benign sign. I think it's important from the standpoint of the freeway and from people downtown looking for the hotel. I support the sign, and I would vote for it if I could make that finding, which is totally nonsensical, in my opinion. And from the standpoint of Caltrans signs, all it does is tell you there's food and lodging, which anybody who's ever been, out of Yellowknife, Canada, knows is in Santa Monica. I mean, that's, obviously we have food and beverage and gas stations here. I don't think that really helps you. I really think you need an identifying sign, and maybe going with a code amendment is the way to do it. I'm just sorry I can't do it tonight. I really am. But that 4th finding I can't make,
Can I just
which
clarify?
is circular.
Can I just clarify? The specific service sign program includes a business logo, so that they actually could pay Caltrans to have a Hilton logo and say Hilton next exit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's Vice Chair Raskin.
Yeah, I too can't make the findings, and as a land use attorney who often deals with difficult legislative environment, I'm sympathetic. Here I think that this city's sign code has been the process of many decades of a political process, and that's a discussion for another day. But being that as it may, I can't make the findings. But I will say that there's a growing community consensus that the freeway should be removed. It's a racist scar on our community, and no, seriously, if the freeway is removed in a decade or 2, I think we'll be probably having a different conversation about this. And so I think that's something we should keep in mind as we move forward.
Right. Thank you. Any other comments? My comment is that sign looks fine to me, but I can't make the findings. I'm so sorry. So I think with that, we're going to have to move.
I just have a quick question for you. When you talk about code amendment, are you talking about changing these findings or allowing?
Code amendment would change the code to allow that kind of sign.
I gotcha. Okay.
Because as long as we have to meet those findings, it's a really tough bar.
Yeah, particularly the 4th one.
And I will double back with the comment that Commissioner Landers made, which is it's a special privilege to them that has not been granted to others, and I don't think it's a special privilege, but it's the way we've set it up. It is right now. I think it should be permitted, but we don't have that right now. So, yes, Commissioner Landers.
I just want to make one comment, and this is really to staff, but the city is doing quite a lot in terms of exploring avenues for economic recovery, and to the extent that we might be able, it's not agendized, but I'll say it. I would encourage the economic recovery team to take a look at our sign ordinance and explore the extent to which a prudent review of that ordinance might not, in fact, facilitate, incentivize further economic recovery. Because I do want to acknowledge what you said about making this it making the city fundamentally more welcome for our visitors who are coming here to enjoy themselves and spend their money here and leave us their tax payments. And so, if something's going to come of this beyond simply a sorry, we can't make the findings, perhaps the lens of economic recovery and economic development might be the place to start in terms of looking at a prudent, careful, narrow review of the sign ordinance.
Okay, with that, can we get a motion, please?
I move that we deny the appeal and uphold the decision of the ARB.
Okay, I think we have two votes here. So it's the recommendation to deny the appeal and deny the side adjustment. So you're denying the appeal and the adjustment and adopting the statement of overriding, the statement of official action. Is what I think your action was, and unless you say no, then if we could get a second,
that's what I was doing.
that'd be great.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. If we can get a vote.
Commissioner Fresco.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Yes.
Commissioner Lambert.
No.
Commissioner Landris.
Yes.
Vice Chair Raskin.
Yes.
Commissioner Tolkien.
Yes.
Chairperson Reese.
Yes. So that motion failed. I'm sorry. The motion passed. The appeal was denied. That's what I meant to say. The appeal was denied. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, we're going to jump back to a prior agenda item, which was related to our Board and Commission questionnaire and report. So we can get a staff presentation on this.
Yes, thank you. This is for item 10A. So the discussion item in front of you is a review and discussion of the Planning Commission's annual report, and also which includes a section that requires this commission to outline a work plan for this fiscal year, which is 23-24. So starting from July 1 last month, going into next summer, so the end of June. And just for a little bit of context, really briefly, this particular questionnaire was something that staff has always received in preparation for the board and commission dinners we used to do, which was the form of the annual report presented to council on the work of boards and commissions. Since that practice has ceased, at least for the time being, this questionnaire, is still being utilized. Staff in the past, we would fill out the questionnaire. We discuss what would be the topic of the board and commission dinner, right? The filming and the location. And in that format, we would highlight a few of the items, achievements of the commission in the past fiscal year, and we would also highlight a few things that the commission would be anticipating to be worked on in the new fiscal year. And so this form is that. I thought in preparation for the discussion, we filled out the draft form for you in terms of the accomplishments of the past year. And then in terms of the work plan, we did provide two things for you. One was just a very short list of some of the discussion items this commission has requested since I've been sitting with you since March. And then also, just to provide you some context, and then I'll preface this a little bit more, we provided an excerpt. This is merely an excerpt, not the entire draft work plan for the division. So as you can see, if you look through that, there's quite a lot of items. I really envision that if I were to fill out the form for you on your behalf entirely, I would suggest that this commission's work plan is really to, actively participate and provide feedback and discussion of the major items that are going to be coming before you that are in the division's work plan. That is centered around the phase 2 implementation of the housing element. All of those items are outlined. Those are all going to need to go before council between October and December of 2024. There are some substantive items that I know overlap with some of the discussion items you've asked for, but I would really just say I wanted to present this to you if there were a couple of items you wanted to highlight in addition to the housing policy items that are first and foremost our division's priority. As time permits, we'll keep track of those items. I don't anticipate you'll have a lot for additional research and things, but I don't want to preclude the possibility of it. So that's my staff report. Looks like we've got
Yeah, I'm
couple of
going to
points.
start really quick with just saying that, commissioners, I want to preface this by saying we don't have a lot of control over what our work element is, right? So let's start from that. Let's start from that and not spend a ton of time on this document. What I would think we should focus, what I think would be helpful is there's a section in here were there goals and a board and commission that was unable to achieve? And I don't know if it's goals, but those are things that we should add in there of things that we want to see done in the future or discussed. And staff talks about them a little bit below, but that to me is kind of, we've said at times we want X, Y, and Z to be reviewed. I think that's where we could add things. And maybe at some point the city council looks at that and says, oh, look, that makes sense and let's add it on there. And that's my only thought, and I'm open to any other discussion. So Commissioner Fresco, let's start with you down the far end.
I was going to say that really what this could be for us is, really our work plan is to support the planning division staff in their work plan by making the decisions that they need us to weigh in on. But there are certain things on here that I think are closer to our hearts than others that we might want to just identify as special interest items, like, for example, the tree ordinance that has been weighing on our shoulders for so long, or I don't know if there's, obviously, housing element implementation, do we need to even say it? It's just, it's a train that's coming into the station any minute now. And so, that's the only kind of thing I would see is even worth putting in there.
Are you going to go down this way?
I was just going to go by hand, as I normally try to do, but let's go over here. Do you guys have anything?
Good idea.
That's fine. No, okay. Vice Chair Raskin, and I'll come back this way.
I agree. I hope that through this process we can support your work and make your lives easier. I think I generally agree, and I just wonder if this is from a process standpoint whether it would make sense for us to potentially even form our own ad hoc groups or our own sub-working groups to potentially work on these. I'm just trying to brainstorm ways in which we can make your lives easier, understanding that more meetings oftentimes means more work. But just an honest question as to what makes your life easier.
I'm not sure I have an idea that pops to mind regarding the amount of time this commission puts in on the policy discussions. As you know, the last couple of years, we spent an inordinate amount of time and expressly devoted time and energy and expertise to the housing element, both in terms of creating, the element itself, and then as we brought forward phase one implementation. That was an enormous body of work. This commission participated heavily in that. We will need this commission's participation on the phase two program. Those items are outlined. I divided them up a little bit differently, but that's really what is phase two in the housing element. Those are obligations. So that would be first and foremost what I would suggest this commission stick with. I know that we'll say it, the private tree ordinance has been discussed in the past at this commission. It is reflected on our list. It is a lower priority based on the other items we do need to tackle. I think the discussion around the adaptive reuse, I'm just thinking about things where there may be something where a subcommittee could do some additional item that is reflected, but the commission brought that up as discussion, and it's also a work item for phase two implementation. Frankly, our department, David and myself, and with Jing, when she returns in September, we're going to go through the draft work plan, look at the phase two housing element implementation, and start to create small teams of planners to bring that work forward. And so we may find that there's a couple items we'd like some additional input on or research or something at an ad hoc subcommittee basis. We will review that with Jing. She's back in just a couple of weeks. So this is really preparation for her to consider as well.
I can just add one other quick thing. One thing I heard from community members a lot before this hearing is whether we can weave in some sort of permit or plan check streamlining discussion into all this. And somewhat related to that too is the fact that I understand you're filling out the code enforcement staff right now, and to the extent that we can, continue to talk about ways in which to, make code enforcement effective and equitable in our city, I think is something that we're all interested in.
Commissioner Landris.
So first, thank you. I appreciate this. I do want to highlight a couple of things. So one is in the page 4 and 5, there are a number of items on this list that are in fact in the City Planning Division work program, but they're not. They're either not under our purview or not coming to us. Just for our own and the public's understanding, I think it could be potentially helpful to have sort of an extra column that says coming to PC or not. Right? Because there are a bunch of these, like the Miramar is not coming back to us. It's off on its own, right? So it would be helpful to see those distinctions and really understand that. I think you should give yourselves credit for things that you've done. So in item number 4, we also had an update on the seismic retrofit. And similarly, in the recently requested commission discussion items, you just told us we're getting a bike and ped action plan update in September, so there's no harm in listing it because you're going to be able to say you did it in a month. The one thing that's not here that I really would like to request, because time is, I think we also had you had the airport in there, the Olympics and the relationship with infrastructure in the city, and infrastructure and transportation. So I would like to request that be added to the list of recently requested discussion items, particularly since it may be possible for us to have an outside speaker do a presentation, which would not require as much staff prep as a full internal report. So if that is amenable to people, it's something I do think we need to have sooner rather than later because it's getting close.
Becoming more timely.
Yeah. But I agree with everybody who said put the private tree ordinance. We care.
For me, yeah, the overriding issue that I think you may agree or not, we should all be facing is the reality of staff. And I wrote you all an email today sort of asking you to think about that for tonight. I don't know how you do what you do. And when I look at these work projects, the tasks, and processing housing applications, and God knows what else, you guys are really in a crunch. And so I don't want to put more on you. For me, the biggest issues are getting housing in the ground, which is processing housing projects, and anything that takes away from that should be questioned, and following state law. I think that's really important. And I think SB 35 is going to be upon us before we know it. I hate to say that, but that's my fear. And so we have to have that in place to be ready for it. So can you kind of tell me how, I assume when a staff person leaves, that person's replaced. And you have 2 additional in this budget year, one for the local coastal program, and I can't remember what the other one is.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. And first I want to thank you for your comments and really the whole commission for your commitment to really support city planning staff. They do an incredible amount of work. And while we've got 2 new positions in the budget, one of them was a senior planner in the city planning division. The other one is in the economic development division. So while it's really great and helpful for the department and the city, it's not going to help the city planning team's work. So I just want to, again, thank you for the comments about that and just acknowledge the amount of work that the group does because, they're still down from COVID cuts, got a new position, but not, nowhere near back to full strength. But they've been able to do an incredible amount of work. So I just want to make that.
My hat's off to you. I mean, I just have so much respect for what you guys do. And I guess, I mean, obviously I'm a housing person, so seeing the housing projects actually going up and trying to meet our RANA goals is a really high priority for me, but it's also for the state. Mm-hmm. And while the tree ordinance is really important and it's on here, the state's not going to hit us with SB 35 if we don't have a tree ordinance. Mm-hmm. So I really, you know where I'm at. I really want to see housing push through. And I hear from developers that it takes so long, blah, blah, blah. That is certainly not your fault. You're understaffed. And I don't know what to do about that, and it's frustrating.
Right. And there's a perception, well, everything now is, it's streamlined. It doesn't go through the planning commission. It's at a staff level.
I know.
That means it's
That's
all
where,
at
but it's
staff
more for
level.
you.
So
It's more for you.
It's a lot of work for the planners to process those. There's still design review. All those things still are happening. And there are a ton of housing projects, both in the pipeline.
I know.
Under construction, which
I know.
is great. It's a lot of work. So.
Final question. Does SB 35 2.0 Wiener's bill, does that change the processing or just the labor requirements and the coastal zone stuff and the extension? Is that, so the processing time is the same in his bill? So if we do SB 35 shortly, we'll be okay? Because if that goes into law, it'll be next year.
We would have to double check, but I'm not sure that it changes the processing.
Okay,
I don't think it
it
targets
does.
that, right? Which really, since most of our housing projects are ministerial, it's not that different from that perspective. The design review piece would be different.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
I've heard, I think it's SB 35. They're looking to make some change where they're adding some healthcare provisions. They have labor provisions in it, which are onerous.
Well, there isn't the labor provisions, which is really critical. Because it's interesting, just to follow up, there are 18,000 units in the SB 35 pipeline, either done or in the pipeline. 2/3 of those are 100% affordable housing projects because they have labor requirements anyway. Market rate developers are not particularly interested. And so that really needs to be thought about.
Well, I'm going to go a step further and say a lot of my nonprofit clients are not overly excited about the labor requirements because there's some in there they have to do and they're regular, they're used to, but others are more onerous, such as kind of training. There's some training issues which really create problems with that. But anyways, we're way off the topic, so sorry. Any other comments on the work plan? Okay. One more comment.
Yeah, I mean, just for everyone's, I think, benefit, the work that we had done on the tree ordinance back pre-COVID has to be, I think, almost entirely redone because of changes in the law that completely change how you can regulate primarily R1 properties. So, yeah, we had done a lot of work, but I think we'd mostly be starting from scratch.
Yes, sir.
Not to put Commissioner Hamilton on the spot if he doesn't want to be put on the spot, but
let's see.
You're the new guy here,
There's the
and
spot.
this is going to be your first year on the commission. So I think it would only be fair if you had a chance to say what you're excited about and looking forward to doing.
Okay.
And I think we ought to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm looking at this and I'm still in learning mode, so bear with me. But I'm looking at this work plan and there's a lot in here that I like. One of the, I was really pleased to see that, there's I think a somewhat aggressive time frame to get the elements of the housing element, complete those outstanding items. So that's really important to me. One of the things that I really value and what I want to really contribute here is housing, housing of all types, from permanent supportive housing to middle income housing, even to market rate housing. I really take seriously the RHNA goals that were put forth. I actually was also really happy to see that the bicycle action plan is going to be presented in September. I think Santa Monica has done a really good job in terms of accommodating bicycle use and more pedestrian-friendly sidewalks, de-emphasizing automobile traffic, and making the choice to leave your home in something besides a car a much easier choice to make. And also, quite frankly, public transportation with the Big Blue Bus. So I'm really interested in how we can continue to move in that direction, how we can enhance what we've done already. I think the city's done a tremendous job, having traveled widely throughout the state. I would put Santa Monica in the top quartile, but other cities have also, I think, been even more aggressive about accommodating bicycle use and pedestrian use. So I'd like to see us continue to move in that direction. I am thinking a lot about the Olympics coming up. I'm looking forward to it. I think Santa Monica is going to have a real opportunity to really shine during the Olympics. I was here in '84. I remember that. And I think that really, I think hopefully gives us even more of a reason and a justification for more aggressive measures around increasing access besides using a car. And I saw the promenade, the downtown and Third Street promenade here as well. I think that we need to pay special attention to the promenade. I think it's an important resource. It needs to get reimagined. Having been, I've seen a couple different iterations of the promenade over the years. And we're certainly in a period that reminds me of maybe the mid-1990s. And I know it can get a lot better in terms of usage. And I fully support anything that has to do with creating more trees and more permeable landscaping and ground cover as well. So those are my thoughts, and thanks for calling on me. Yeah.
Very good. I think we've expired our comments. It's not easy.
Thank you.
Are we supposed to vote on something? No.
Okay, so with that, giving you that input, let's get back to our regularly scheduled show. So 12, we have no resolutions, 13 written communications. There was an article sent to us by Commissioner Lambert about housing production on the West Coast. It was not a pretty picture. If you read it, you should read it. 14 commission member discussion items. We just discussed discussion items. So at this point, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. It's 8:14, and I'd like to adjourn it, not in anybody's memory, but in goodwill for this commission for the next 2 to 4 years. Yeah, but that sounds bad. That sounded bad.
How about in appreciation of Mario's service?
We can do that too.